Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another Gunpla review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this, and of course it's the Premium Bandai RX-1211 Gundam TR-1 Hazel Custom. Of course, as you know, because this is a Premium Bandai kit, it can be quite hard to get outside of Asia. So if you do want some Premium Bandai kits of your own, or you just want some Japan exclusive goodies, then you could get them over at Buyee, because that is exactly where I got this Hazel. And once again, just like the last time, I will put more info at the end of the video, and it's the same info as last time. But anyway, here we go. So there is the Gundam TR-1 Hazel Custom out of the box and put together. And the first thing I will mention here is I love the look of the Hazel. It's such a cool, tough looking mobile suit. However, this kit right here really does feel like a blast from the past. This is essentially a master grade from over 10 years ago, just repackaged into something a little bit newer. If you are a fan of the older master grades from the 2.0 era, then that is exactly what this is, but if you're more accustomed to newer master grades, you may find this a little bit on the basic side. In the manga Advance of Zeta, this mobile suit is a precursor to the Gundam Mark II. So that does make sense that this kit right here is essentially made up of a lot of the parts of the Gundam Mark II 2.0. So if you do like that kit, this is essentially a variant of that. Believe it or not, I do not have the Master Grade Gundam Mark II 2.0. That did come out before I started getting into Gunpla. But what I do have is this piece of crap right here. And this, of course, is the variant of the Gundam Mark II from Gundam Build Fighters, and one of the worst Master Grades I have ever built. For all you guys who regularly watch my videos, you do know that I have a rating tier system. And just to clarify it right here once again, it's literally gold, silver, and bronze. Silver is exactly what you would expect from a master grade, as in brand new right now master grades. Bronze is lower than standard, and gold is better than standard. Then we also have Gundarium tier for something that absolutely breaks the mold completely. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got brown tier. And the only master grades I would ever refer to as brown tier are the Victory Gundam, rest in peace, the Delta Plus, and this right here. Debatably, I might put in that massive Hazel on top because it needs a lot of extra effort. And remember, these ratings are the out-of-box builds, not what you can do with them personally. But anyway, the Mark II from Gundam Build Fighters, that would have been brown tier. They just took the Mark II, and I've heard the Mark II is quite good, so I assume it's better than this, threw on a whole bunch of bits that don't really fit, it's awkward, floppy, next to no detail, and it just outright sucks. Look at that V-fin, it's ugly. It's more like a U-fin or something. But anyway, I digress, back to the Hazel. It's such an awesome looking mobile suit, and this does look quite awesome. But like I mentioned, it does feel very old school, and that shows. There's not a lot of part separation, a lot of parts are just big bulky pieces. For example, the shoulders, the forearms, the sides of the legs, they're massive, massive pieces, not broken down into nice, smaller segments. On top of that, this really relies heavily on color correcting stickers. Not too heavily, as you can see by the size of the sheet. It could be a lot worse, but it's bad enough for a master grade. We get a lot of reflecty green foil seals, which would have been so much better if they were clear parts. Like the clear part in the head looks phenomenal, I love that. But all these little stickers, especially the large ones, they don't look good at all. Next up, we have an absolute ton of these black stickers. Again, these could be a lot worse. They're fairly well hidden, but it would have been nice to have actual parts in there. Again, not too bad, but the worst offender is right here on its crotch. That tiny little V that should be yellow is not cast in yellow, just in red, and they expect you to use a sticker, or if you got the skills, just paint it. But all in all, this isn't enough to take away too much from this kit. It's just worth noting that they are using some old techniques on this because it is an old style kit. But all in all, this looks like one awesome tough mobile suit. I really do love the design of the Hazel. The head looks great. I love the way that really strong looking forehead section comes out in front of the V-fin. Again, the clear parts in there look great. It's big and bulky and strong looking around the legs, and when you flip that around to the back, this is one of the coolest looking backpacks I've seen. It's very unique, has a nice ergonomic style. This little extra section up top, the little thrusters in the butt flap look great, might give you a bit of tryptophobia though. And I do love the kind of mixed media use of these little fabric pipe covers down here. I liked when they used to do that sort of thing on older master grades. They don't tend to really do that anymore. It looks cool. And before I forget, because it's big and bulky, you may expect it to be bigger than it actually is, but there it is side by side with the standard Granddaddy Gundam, so you can see it's not necessarily all that big, it's just bulky and strong looking. So there is the TR-1 with everything that it comes with, and as you can see, this is essentially your standard loadout of shield, beam saber, rifle, as well as a couple of extras. And it's also worth mentioning at this point that there is a whole bunch of different Hazel kits out there, as well as option sets for with it, so this is as basic as it can get. And if you're curious as to why I got the white one, well, it's much easier for me to record because it's all set up with a black background and all that sort of stuff, so that's exactly why I went with this one in particular. So the first thing I'll mention before getting into the accessories is this is the old style master grade hands, where the last 3 digits of the hands are connected together, the index finger and the thumb are separate, and they're always in a kind of curved position, so it doesn't really look that great all of the time, but you don't have to mess around looking for fingers and stuff like that like you would with some other kits with interchangeable fingers, so it's handy in that regard. It doesn't necessarily look that great, and there is always the classic simple modification you can do here. You can see the last 3 digits right there, they are just slightly connected there at the end. So if you just chop those apart, you can move them all independently. I find that is more trouble than it's worth, honestly. It's easy to lose those fingers, they can pop out. So I just tend to leave them the standard way that they are. But once again, this is the old style master grade hand. So as for the rifle we get in here, it's a cool style rifle, but I will mention it is quite basic. The only 2 moving parts we have are the sight up there. As you can see, we do have a clear green section in there that can move in out of the way, and this handle here can flip up. That is it. Even though in here we do get 2 of these extra magazines, they are just a decoration, as this section here does not come off, so it doesn't really have any kind of fun little gimmicks like that. Very basic. Of course, this can be held in the hand like so. That just clips into the palm. Close the fingers in over that. Try and get that index finger into that hole, and bam! There we go. So that's what that looks like. So when it's attached, it looks pretty much like that. Once again, it doesn't have a whole lot of functional aspects per se, but when it's not in use, you can push this little section out like so, and that can connect onto the side skirting armor just like so. As I mentioned before, we do have 2 of these magazines. They have the same little attachment point down there on the bottom, so of course they can attach onto the side skirts just like the rifle can, just like that. Next up then, we do have the beam saber. This is pretty basic, so there is only 1 in the box, but because beams come in 2s, you get a spare, and as usual with a beam saber, that can be held in the hand like, oh, get in there, would ya? Come on. Yeah, there we go. Like so. So once again, this is a fairly standard looking basic beam saber. When not in use, just flip them around like this. There's a hole up here in the backpack, and that slots in just like that. Next up in here, we've got this shield, which we have seen countless times before. Flipping around to the back of that, you can see it is quite basic. The only thing that moves on here is this little segment here, which rotates. Hold on. Yep, that is all it does. Just this little bit of rotation. So that connects on into the hole, just like so. Also included in the box is the second shield, which is the shield booster right here. So this is a bigger, bulkier shield with, you guessed it, a booster in it. So this connects on using the exact same piece that was on the other shield. So if you want to attach it to the arm, you use that exact same bit. It just slots down into it like so. That is actually a pretty awesome looking shield. A lot more detail on that. A little bit more color as well than what we saw on the standard shield. And of course, this is a booster. So that means instead of using it there, we can pop that off, flip out this little section in here, and we have this little peg hole up here in which to attach that. So that attaches in there this way around, ready to be used as a booster. And also, like I mentioned before, there are different variants of this kit and accessories for this kit available, which also include more boosters. And lastly, in here we do get a small little set of awesome looking, and I mean awesome looking, little water slide transfers. They are very nice, especially all the different types of Titans logos. Damn, they are really, really nice. So now moving on to the articulation, and as this is an early 2.0 era kit, or should I say based on an early 2.0 era kit, that does mean that the articulation on here is quite basic. That is not necessarily a bad thing, Because with basic articulation, a lot of the times that means the kit itself is quite solid. This kit is quite solid, but you will find it quite hard to eke out some cool dynamic poses, especially while on the ground. Let's take a closer look. So as for the neck, you've got your standard giggity double ball joint. That means there's a ball down in here, a ball in the bottom of the head. So that means you do get back, forward, down and up at the head. Side to side is a little bit blocked by those things on the shoulders, which I believe I read are something to do with it maintaining balance while in mid-air, so they can flip out like this. They do look like they would have been beam sabers or something like that, but no, apparently they play somewhat of a functional role. Those are pretty cool. However, I will mention that this thing is notoriously loose. That just pops right off. You could almost blow that off. So that's not great. This one here is fine. I don't know why just that other one. The shoulder is quite basic. We get a little bit of in and out in here. Not necessarily a whole lot. As for how high you can raise that arm, that's the limit right there. The shoulder can move up slightly more, but nothing more than that. If you want to raise that arm more, you have to do that crappy kind of thing where you have to kind of flip it all the way around like that, and that doesn't look good. Full rotation there at the upper arm. Let's try out that bend at the elbow, and yeah, that's pretty solid. Can't complain. We have a nice wrist joint here. This is both a ball as well as a hinge, so you do get quite a bit of a range of motion there. I showed you the fingers already, so you know what they do. It would not be a master grade without that fully functioning cockpit, so that can open up here, open down at this red section. We do have that pilot figure in there. I'll lighten it up a bit so you can see. Pretty standard there for a master grade. We have that old school solid block. You're not going to be getting anything out of that. Man, these are awful for falling off. Get back on there. We do have a little bit of side to side here. Back to front though, not a lot. Rotation, that can go all the way around. We have that standard ball joint up and down at the front skirting. See, there's no real detail in there. Again, quite old school. Side skirt as well is up and down. That can move up quite far. We do have rotation there as well, forward and back. And around on the tripto butt, it is just a standard non-moving butt flap, and I'm finding a lot of issues with this particular section here just pulling apart all the time. That may need to be glued. Haven't seen anything like that before. Could be better. Inside the waist here, we've got a bit of a swinging forward and back mechanism. Now, this isn't like more modern kits where it's quite stiff and will hold at any point. This locks in at the back. When you pull it forward, it's absolutely and utterly loose, and then will lock in at the front. So you have only two positions here, forward and back, and that affects both legs. So as for the leg movement at the waist, it's not that great. If you kick up to the front skirting and that big massive knee don't really get along. As for out to the sides, not much. You guessed it, it's that old school ball and socket in there. Not cool. And now you can see why everyone hates these joints. And because of that non-premium butt flap back there, that means you're not getting much kick out to the back at all. So at the waist here, it's quite limited. Thankfully, we do have a full rotation at the upper thigh. Bulky leg does mean less than optimal bend at the knee. However, we have what is a lost art here. The lost art of separating thigh armor with the knee bend. When it bends, we also have this nice other section of armor in underneath. So quite a bit is going on at the bend. Even though the bend isn't that crazy, we do have quite a bit going on. I wonder why they removed that sliding armor gimmick from newer kits. I always thought it was really cool, and it's odd that they removed it. Last up then is the ankle. So up and down is quite good, especially down. Side to side pivot is extremely limited. We do have those cool little pistons in there that you can see move up and down when you move the joint. And as for the foot itself, there doesn't seem to be anything here. It just seems to be blocked. Barely any movement there at all. You'd wonder why it's even there. Lastly, that bit of ankle armor can move up and down. Probably to hide its skinny ankles. Almost forgot, up here this does move as well. We've got one bit of our... oh, shite. Almost forgot the backpack. This segment up here, we've got a bit of articulation here, as well as here, where it pops up like this. So this and that. Also, these little guys around here, on ball joints. So that is it for the review, and there is no denying that the Gundam Hazel looks so cool. It's a really nice, bulky, strong looking Gundam, with that early Zeta vibe before things started going extremely crazy looking. However, I will mention that the kit right here is just bronze tier. It feels so old school and lets you down in so many different ways. It's one of those kits I want to love. I still do love it in its simple old way, but it just isn't up to modern standard, not in the least. Its list of problems include way too many stickers, especially big color correcting ones. The one on the crotch, that is unforgivable. On top of that, it really doesn't have too much detail. The part separation isn't all that great. We've got a lot of big, massive parts on here. We have those old school hands, but some people like those, so if you do like those, that is a good point. And one of the biggest issues is the articulation. It's just not really there. If that was an isolated problem, it wouldn't be so bad. But there's too many real negative aspects about the articulation, mainly that terrible, terrible waist joint. You cannot get much out of that, and compiled with the fact that you got next to no side-to-side tilt in the ankles, you're not going to get much nice ground poses, and even aerial poses aren't going to look that crazy good. But then again, if you only want some basic poses out of it, that's not too big of a deal. It's just this right here, the whole package just feels so aged. But still, it does look damn awesome. But anyway, if you do want one of your own, I got mine from Buyee. There is a link down there in the description. Go check out some gunpla there. I'm going to put a little bit of an explanation after this video for how to use that service. So once again, thank you to Buyee for sending this on to me. Of course, thank you to all you guys for watching. And as always, make sure to come back for more gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. Buyee. So Buyee is like a proxy buying website, and what I mean by that is, just like in some of the videos you've seen before, this is a website which will buy stuff for you from Japan that you can't buy yourself. But anyway, what I think is really cool about this website right here is there's a lot of what would have been brick and mortar stores I would have went to when I was living in Japan. I lived in Japan for 6 years, so a lot of these shops I would have just went to. So it's cool to see that you can actually buy from these places, especially places like Animate. If you've never heard of Animate before, it's literally the heart of new anime goods and stuff like that. It's great. We've got Akiba Soft Map here, the online Capcom store, Mandarake, but I'm pretty sure you can buy directly from them already, and stuff like the Evangelion store. That's pretty damn cool. And there's even some like unique things on here you probably wouldn't know about if you've never been to Japan. Like for example, this here, Village Vanguard, was one of my favorite stores when living in Japan because it just sells such weird and awesome stuff. It's meant to be a bookstore, but I don't think I've ever seen more than 5 books in a Village Vanguard. For example, you want a tiny bread sofa and fried egg blanket? Or a costume of a shark eating you? Like, the stuff they have is so much fun, it's awesome. But anyway, what we're here for is gunpla, and like I mentioned before, when I was in Japan, I always bought my gunpla all the time from Amazon. The prices are just so good, and they have pretty much everything all the time. For example, right here, you can buy the standard Granddaddy Gundam for less than $7. I mean, their prices are great, but for stuff like this, a proxy website won't really make that much sense. So of course, we're going to be looking for Premium Bandai. So I just typed in here perfect grade Premium Bandai. I will put any and all of the kind of search terms I would use to find gentei or alternative colored kits down there in the description box, so you can check that out. You can copy paste those into Amazon here and you'll be able to get them, and I'll show you what you can do with this particular proxy service, which is Buyee. And honestly, there are some crazy things on Amazon like this right here. Look at that, $7,000 of absolute rare Gundam awesomeness. This is the strict G, perfect grade Unicorn Gundam Phoenix in silver. Like, honestly, that is so cool. Look at that, skull and crossbones, absolute Gundam holy grail stuff right here. If you're into gunpla, this is an absolutely crazy option, but you could just kind of be a little bit more realistic and go for this down here, which of course is the standard Phoenix in perfect grade, but still crazy at $600. But pretty much no matter what you're going to be looking for, you'll find it on here. For example, like the Gym Dominance, which I'm about to look at, I got that through Buyee here off of Amazon. So there's the Gym Dominance. Of course, that's not going to cost you those crazy perfect grade prices, and the handy thing about Buyee, I find, is that they have a handy Chrome extension where you can just add things straight to the cart from the website, including choosing used ones if they are cheaper. In this case, a used one's more expensive. It's not built, so it makes no sense. But yeah, once again, as usual, this is a company that reached out to me. Of course, this right here is just an option if you're looking to get some premium Bandai kits.